Dearest listeners,
Book Babes and Book Bros.
welcome to Book Babble. I'm Rachel,
And I'm Tanya, and we're the Witlet Women, your hosts for today.
and today we have a special guest star. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is KG Bolingbroke. I am a newly published author. I just debuted my first novel, Nocturne, back in March. And yeah, it's been quite an experience ever since. Been a lot of fun, a lot of learning, a lot of meeting folks. And Nocturne is oh gosh, I don't even know if this is a real genre, but I just kind of made it up. It's a gothic historical fiction blend. I'm a big history nerd and very, very inspired by the old Gothic classics such as Dracula, Phantom of the Opera, Jekyll and Hyde, all that good stuff. So I thought I would take the plunge and write my own, which resulted in Nocturne.
Well, first off, congratulations on your recent debut. That's amazing, KG.
Thank
So,
you. Thank
big
you.
congrats. And then also, if that's not a genre, it needs to be a genre. It sounds amazing, like Gothic historical fantasy. Please.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Fantasy,
make it.
historical fiction.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm gonna
please.
make fetch happen.
Yes. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. Well, KG, are you ready to babble?
I think so.
All
I
right.
think so. Let's
Let's
see what
put
you got
five
for
minutes
me.
on the clock. All right.
Okay, so you kind of touched on this a little bit, but my first question is always what inspired you to write? What got you going?
Oh gosh, I like to say that I started writing before I could even read or spell. And I say that because it's the truth. Growing up in the 90s, I was always very fascinated by books. I have a hard time articulating it because it was so instinctual, that I just was adhered to these. Like they just looked fascinating to me. They just looked beautiful. And my mom was a big reader, so maybe there was some of that a little bit, kind of influenced by one's parent. But I would sit in her office when she was teaching all those years ago, and I would just, take construction paper and fold them and scribble in them and do my own illustrations, which I would never do now because no one wants to see that. But when you're 3, 4 years old, it's endearing. Not so much at 33 years old. So yeah, that's what I just kind of like to say is that I felt this instinctive draw to write before I even could write and read, and it's kind of funny because when I was learning to read, I interestingly kind of struggled learning how to read. So that was kind of an interesting juxtaposition that it took me a little bit longer than some of the other members of my classmates to learn to read. So,
There are plenty of musicians who don't know how to read music, so, and they
yeah,
still perform very well. So, like, it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. And then Beethoven, who went deaf and relied on vibration. So,
Yeah, see, it's okay.
yeah,
But no, that's fascinating. That's incredible.
thank
Which
you.
I would love to talk more on once we get past the 5 minutes.
Yep.
Um,
Sorry. I already took up like 2 minutes of that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, that's what it's here for. Um, so I always like to ask the more emotional questions. So, um, I'm sorry. My computer is being weird. Um,
Oh, always. Without fail.
so, um, what character do you identify the most with that you've written, whether it's a Nocturne or another series or like thing you haven't published yet?
Um, I think, well, I'll speak to Nocturne because, I know the skeleton and the guts of that piece, so I think it makes sense to go that route. So I, interestingly enough, deviated from writing for a minute and I turned to theater and I got an acting degree. So I really learned how to develop characters and to the point where there's a backstory that may not exist in the text. So when it comes to writing my characters, I definitely take a little piece of myself and put them in each of them, whether it's a personality trait I have now, a personality trait I used to have but grew out of, a personality trait I wish I had. So that's a big part of developing characters. So it's kind of hard to narrow down to one answer to your question. I also like observing people a lot too. So if there's something that I might be lacking as an individual, I'll pull from my husband, I'll pull from my dad, my mom, my stepmom, and just kind of pull bits from everybody just to really sort of flesh the characters out. So I know that's not a concise answer to your question, but it's the best I got. So
No, it makes sense that you draw inspiration from not just yourself, but everybody. So I
yeah,
love that answer.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
So what's your process for writing? How does it get from your head to the book?
Oh, this is to be honest with you, I don't have a process. I just, the inspiration strikes, keeps me up at night, keeps me breathing, wakes me up in the morning, and then I just kind of go. I know people do these beautiful detailed outlines and they're so organized, and I don't really have a process. I don't know if I should be admitting that out loud because it doesn't sound very like professional author, but I really ride the waves of inspiration and what inspires me. I think if there's any sort of process, I guess I get really inspired by other artists. When I hear a mu piece of music that really moves me, that really kind of instigates the creative streak. So I guess that's the best I got for for
Ironically, I hear that
process.
a lot though. Like a lot of authors are like, yeah, there's not really a process. It just comes out. So I don't think you're alone.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I mean, writing is more creative than scientific, so who needs an actual process? Come on.
And if it becomes a science, I will become disinterested. So I'm not going to do that to myself. I am not a math or science gal by any means. So
Well, KG, congratulations. You have
thank
made it
you.
through our 5 minute round and you actually did really well. Like you stopped right at 5 minutes. So congratulations. I think that's the
Good.
first time it's ever happened.
Oh, really? Yeah, I guess I can babble, but within, confinements, it
But
sounds like.
that was awesome. This part will go on our social channels, and then the full episode that we're going to continue on with is going to go on YouTube and Spotify. So we'll just keep chit-chatting.
Sure.
Um, I was curious about kind of what you were saying in the beginning, how like how you started, how you were inspired and how you started, you know, writing before you could really read. Can you take us through that a little bit more? Like, were you creating stories in your head and you just like didn't write it down on paper, but it was just like things going through your mind?
Yeah, so I think I've always kind of had this imaginative instinct, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. I was a middle child. I had three siblings at the time. That's since expanded to six. So
Wow.
being smack dab in the middle
Wow.
of that. Yeah, exactly. I was the oldest girl. Um, my brothers, they weren't significantly older than me, but the next one up, he was about 3 years older. So, um, we were always very imaginative. We'd play out in the yard, out in the woods, at my grandparents' house, always kind of making stories and eventually they get disinterested, go on their video games, whatever. But I always kind of carried it on. I was always, playing with my dolls, making up these grand, dramatic, daytime drama stories with my dolls and um, with whole fleshed out names, characters, backgrounds. So I guess it's always just kind of been there.
I love that. And you had
Yeah.
mentioned something along the lines of, sometimes you have these whole characters without their backstories on paper. How do you decide what backstories to reveal when you're writing? I love like that whole process. So like how do
Well,
you decide which one's important and which one's not?
I think that's a great question, and I love that. If it were truly up to me, the whole backstory would be on the page. But I also have to be realistic. Are my readers going to want complete info dumps? I mean, unfortunately, at this day and age, attention spans are a little shorter, so we have to kind of curtail to those type of audiences. Whereas, in Shakespeare's time, Shakespeare plays would be 3, 4 hours, and that was a
Yeah.
whole day long event. So I really try to narrow it down to what propels the story. And that's where I feel is probably the most important to reveal those glimpses of psychology. And even when I continue to write, I'm always keeping in the back of my head, is this something so and so would say? Is this something so and so would do? If so, why are they saying this? Why are they doing this? I'm even in my day job, my day-to-day life, the who, what, where, when, and why is always kind of an important structure that I always adhere to. It was something that we really honed in on in acting school and really try to, what's my motivation? I know that's kind of cliche, but there's an element of truth to it. If it's, we all have our quirks, we all have our personalities, we all have our fears, joys, loves, lusts, tastes, preferences that it's so ingrained in who we are that to deviate from that would really do not only the characters a disservice, but the story a disservice. So it's really, again, kind of going back to the meat of your question is, what propels the story? What bits of psychology and character propel the story and keep that moving forward?
That's a wonderful answer, but I did get distracted by the fact that you mentioned acting school. Did you go to acting school?
Yeah, I did.
Wow. So have you
Yeah.
like professionally acted?
Yes.
That's amazing. You
Yeah.
are such a creative, like all around creative being.
Oh, thank you. Oh, geez.
Insane.
You got to get a little. I mean, I actually ran my own theater company for a stint, and then COVID hit, and that's kind of when I turned my attention back to writing. Was like, okay, I can't produce theater, but I still need this like creative outlet. So, how am I going to get this out there? So then that's when I started writing again. So a
Wow.
little bit of
I'm just
everything.
shocked right now. That's
I've always
amazing. So impressive.
Thank you. I mean, if you look at it though, it makes sense because I mean, theater is also storytelling, and
Yeah.
I seem to just have this like thing in me where I got to tell stories. I don't know. Maybe I inherited that from my grandpa because he was always a great storyteller. I mean, he was a police officer, so he never went into like the arts, but he had a real huge knack for telling stories. So maybe that's where I got it from. I don't know. It's just been
Hey, it's a gift. Like you really, it really is impressive when someone can tell stories that actually keep a reader interested and it keeps the attention. Um, and I feel like you can do that because you have all, you have done theater, you have done acting, you have done writing. Like you are doing the thing.
Thank you. I wish I was a little bit more of a musician. I did do some vocal lessons in my day, but I wish I was more like Renaissance man where I could like pick up an instrument and play any instrument too, but I didn't quite get that far.
What I'm hearing, you probably could. It's probably a hidden talent. Um,
Maybe if I had the time, if I could just live my best like I don't know, Tolkien life and just like,
yeah.
be like the Renaissance man and just smoke a pipe and indulge
Oh,
in art 24/7 maybe, but unfortunately in our day
if
and
we
age.
if we could all just be a Tolkien.
Seriously. Seriously. That's what my office library is definitely inspired by too, is that Tolkien English, office study library.
I
The
love it.
billiard room.
I love it. The wallpaper is phenomenal. It's like
Thank
my
you.
favorite thing I've ever seen.
Thank
Um,
you.
so we are just about coming up on time, and this is typically where we offer you the floor. If you have anything to announce, anything you want to say to your readers, whatever, the floor is yours.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I feel like I've done so much talking already that I'm like, what haven't I covered? But yeah, I mean, Nocturne, my debut novel, it's on sale when it launched in November. Is that a kitty tail?
It's. I was you're out of the
Sorry. Love animals too, so I'm like,
He usually doesn't do this, but like I said, when we were introducing ourselves, I'm moving, so she's just like all over the place.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm very
she,
lucky. I feel very graced by her presence. It's a
I'm
blessing.
surprised my dog isn't over here too.
Oh, well,
She's
if
here.
your dog wants to come over and say hi, I'm absolutely here for it.
She doesn't like to be held, Ow, ow, ow. She's biting me.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
well, I was
Maybe
gonna
not.
try to show you to her, but she does
Maybe
not
not.
like to be picked up.
I get it. I don't like being picked up either, so I understand. But yeah, so Nocturne's on sale. You can get it on Amazon, of course, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. It's available globally too for our international friends, on Amazon, and there's some other international bookstores out there that I'm not familiar with, but they're out there. And I'm currently working on book two, so I'm expanding Nocturne into a series. And book two is in the works. I'm on the final stretch of the first draft. I do a lot of research, so it is historically based, a lot of historical fiction. So I do research while I write as well. So it does take me a little longer to write my books because, it's not just a made up world, not just, not poo-pooing anybody, but it's not something that's completely imaginative where I could just kind of like, the rules are mine and whatever. So um, it does take me a little longer. So hopefully, I can get that done within the next month or so, and then begin the editing process, the vast editing process. Um, so yeah, be on the lookout for that. I haven't revealed the title yet. I have about 20 to 25 titles, and I'm having a really hard time narrowing it down, but I'm just kind of waiting to see.
Wow.
I know. They just kept
I
coming out
don't know
more
that I could
often.
even come up with 25 different titles to choose from. That's impressive. Wow.
Thank
I've
you. So
been I've
yeah.
been shocked this entire episode.
Oh God, God, I'm glad to know that I still have it. Sometimes I feel like I'm just getting like old and crotchety where I just prefer my books, my blanket, and my tea. I don't know.
Don't know why it's fine.
Honestly, I've been there, done that. I'm just ready to just be a homebody, be my best Bilbo Baggins.
Yes. Well, we are so happy, KG, that you were able to take a minute from your Bilbo Baggins life and meet with us today. Uh, we're
Absolutely.
we had so much fun, and we are thrilled about your upcoming novel. We can't wait to hear more about it and read it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is lovely. Thank you so
Uh,
much. I
of
appreciate your
course.
time and support. I mean, that's huge as an indie author, even if it's not buying the book, just spreading the word is goes a long way. So
Yeah, of
couldn't
course.
be
And
more
if you ever
grateful.
need any help with like ARC reading or tours, I do own Iris Influencer Society. I'm a co-owner.
Okay,
So
lovely.
reach out to us and we'd be happy to help you with marketing or tours or
Yeah,
whatever.
I would love that. Yeah, this first go round, I learned a lot. So I'm kind of backtracking a little bit. Like now that I've learned how to do this, maybe I can circle back and try it again and do it better this time. So yeah, I'll definitely take you up on that for sure.
Yeah, we'd be happy to work with you. And you're right up our alley of like the type of books that our influencers like to read. So
Oh,
it's
awesome.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch base on that. I would love that.
Awesome. Well, KG, thank you so much again,
Thank
and
you.
I hope you have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate
Of
your
course.
time.